Steve Gow, everybody. I also left out one joke I was supposed to say before the rap, is that my rap name is Bitmain Zaddy. I'm glad you get that, guys. Look up Zaddy on Urban Dictionary and you'll get that joke later. It's not inappropriate, but Google and Urban Dictionary does change your algorithm, fair warning. Okay, but anyway, I don't know why I'm still winded. I think because they posted it. I didn't really realize that was going to be out there for everybody to see, but we'll see. Also, I had a BitPay story. Did you get a little wooden coin from BitPay when you walked by their place? Well, last year, I got about 5 or 6 of these from Merrick, and then I took my son on his 21st birthday to Vegas here in October, and I used the little wooden BitPay in my poker tournament as the little extra piece, that you just play with or whatever, and I won that tournament with my son in it. So it was a 240 buy-in. It was the one that I won $37.50 or whatever, and it was the BitPay lucky coin. So just like the SEC says, we can current gains don't guarantee future results. But my report on the BitPay wooden thing is it was worth about $3,350 worth of profit that day in luck. But we can't stand behind that legally. But anyway, that was funnier in my head earlier, so probably. All right. We're still a little ahead of schedule. Y'all are doing great. Thank you, one person who was clapping me all the way up here. That was awesome. Megan Nielsen, Web3 Strategic Advisor, aka Crypto Megan, is a top Web3 strategic advisor, highly acclaimed podcast host, and board member of the Secret Network, which telling people that you're a board member of the Secret Network seems counterintuitive, but I don't judge. She works with global brands, executives, and tier 1 projects shaping the future of Web3 and AI. Megan is also the co-owner of ATH Vodka, an ultra-premium spirit with a Web3 rewards token, hash ATH, unless it's $ATH. Is it hash ATH? ATH, okay, thank you. Redefining industry engagement. As host of the Crypto Megan podcast, now featured on Tim Draper TV, she engages with industry leaders and influential figures in Web3, sharing impactful conversations at the forefront of innovation. Please welcome Megan Nielsen. I'm just going to be your railing. There you go. And do you have slides? There are your slides right there.
Testing. Okay. Actually, we're going to be doing a really amazing panel today for you all. We were just setting the tone outside, so I'm going to welcome my panelists to the stage now because we're going to have a very exciting conversation on crypto payments and rewards. It's not what you think it is. We're going to let you know what's happening in the landscape now, what's changed, and what you can be excited about in this amazing world right now. So I'd like to welcome all my panelists to the stage. Merrick, Charlie, John, and Stefano. We're going to have a very, very exciting conversation. Give them a round of applause. All right. So first of all, thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the intro. We were just talking outside, and I was blown away by our conversation in the lobby. You're going to love what we're going to have to say because really the industry has evolved so much, and it's so exciting to be here during this time when innovation is allowed to thrive again. We have the first pro-crypto administration in history, and things are a lot different than they were just earlier last year, So I'd like to go ahead and give my panelists a chance to introduce themselves, say a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get this topic underway. So it's called crypto payments and rewards, but really what we're going to discuss is what's been happening up until this point to be able to transform the industry, because the payments industry is huge and it's going to absolutely revolutionize our lives as well as rewards. So we'll go ahead and start here.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, all right, great. My name is John Shave. I'm a telecom and technology entrepreneur, investor. What's interesting about what's happening right now, as you listen to the conversations and talk to people here in general, is I was one of the first internet service providers in the United States in the mid-'90s. And when you go back to the '90s and you think about we used to have our servers that were in our offices, and then they became, we put them in data centers, then they became virtualized, and now you can break your data up into multiple data centers, and like with Databricks and things like that. And what's happening right now, in my opinion, is we're very similar to we were in 1999. And what I mean by that is the fundamental mindset of cryptocurrency, of Litecoin, for example. People are now beginning to digest the narrative of a cryptocurrency in payments, and now we're going to start seeing some amazing innovations over the next 10 years that I think most people in this room, we can't even imagine yet. So it's a very exciting time above and beyond just talking about cryptocurrency and utility in Litecoin.
Yeah, thank you for that intro. We'll circle back to that thought, but wow, around in the 1990s, the inception of the internet, and now here we are today at the forefront of this cutting edge technology, which is blockchain. So it's super exciting times.
Hi everybody, I'm Stefano Moretti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Blockbee, which is a non-custodial payment solution for merchants who want to accept crypto as a payment solution, as a deposit method.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Sullivan. I'm the managing director of Vacation Genie. We're a new travel portal that accepts cryptocurrency as a form of payment with our partner BitPay. We're initially focused on cruises. Later this year, fourth quarter, we'll have hotels, and then we'll start to build out the full portfolio. As Merrick mentioned earlier, the first piece of this is going to be on the payment side, and then very quickly move into rewards. And then later on, we can talk about why I think travel is really one of the validation categories for the mechanism of exchange that was talked about earlier today, or really the utility of the coins.
Oh yeah, so rewards and payments, that's what we're going to talk about today, how our lives are going to change and why it makes everything better. Then we've got one of my favorite wallets and forms of payment that I started with a long time ago.
Thank you. Merrick, Theobald with BitPay, and we help companies accept crypto payments or handle crypto payouts. So that could be used for rewards or any other payout opportunity.
Well, that's very exciting. So we've got like a lot of different backgrounds here, but one thing in common is that we're all now, the tech is ready, the foundation is laid, and now it's time to go out there and actually execute and get this involved in the fabric of our daily lives. So one thing I wanted to point out first, too, on the payment side is a quote by Chris Skinner, who's a leading fintech author, and he said, "Money is no longer paper and coins, it's data, and data moves at the speed of light." Right? So now we're here, and we're just on the verge of getting this into everyday life. So I'd like you guys to just kind of go around and explain what you're doing now and how you're implementing the technology to revolutionize your sector.
I'll go ahead and start. So what we've deployed this past year is it's called stackmobile.com. We've integrated BitPay into our platform. We're a nationwide MVNO, so we own everything behind the tower, right? So what I like to tell people, we're like Mint Mobile, but I'm not Ryan Reynolds, but I'd rather give you 15% cash back in Litecoin when you use our service. So what's interesting about that is everybody has a phone. Everybody uses data. And if you go back and think about what my initial narrative was, is that think about it this way. Now, our solution may not be the most complicated and technical compared to some other technologies that I've seen around the crypto space, but it's really simple. Use our service, we've got great rates, and we give you Litecoin cash back. And why that's important is it begins to lay down the foundation of what I call is getting the cogs moving of cryptocurrency and Litecoin into the ecosystem with utility, right? So an example is, put it this way. So you take $100 million in revenue, right? And you kick back 15% to your consumers. Well, I mean, that's $15 million of Litecoin that's now circulating amongst thousands of people. That gives utility. So we, with our mobile phone solution, we see it as one of the foundation cornerstones of utility, and BitPay is our strategic partner on that. So they make it really easy for our consumers to link their wallet, and then the client pays their bill, and we shoot you your crypto, and you're off to the races. So that's kind of what our solution is.
Oh, that's really exciting. So they get 15%? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, you get one line, you get 10, you get two, if you got a wearable or you got two phones or a laptop, you get 15%. So, I mean, most people have two devices, so, it's recurring, it's not a one-time, we don't raise, the funny thing is people ask me, like, well, It's kind of interesting 'cause it's relatively common. They're like, well, so you raise my rates 15%, you give me, no. We start with a baseline where we're going to be less money or equal to what you're paying right now, and we give you the crypto cash back, I call it. And what I like to say is connect and collect with Stack Mobile.
Wow, I like that. And so now they're collecting the Litecoin. So there's actually real utility happening now with crypto, and then they can spend it somewhere else on different things. So, I mean, this is really exciting to see that you get the cash back. Then there's so much utility in places like the travel Genie, right, that they can spend it on now. So it's like a more circular economy.
Exactly, exactly. And I'll get into, start at a high level on travel and then get more specifically on travel Genie itself. So when you look at travel itself, I mentioned earlier, we believe travel is one of the validation categories for the utility of cryptocurrencies, and specifically, if you were in the earlier conversations today, they talked about three things: store of value, unit of account, and medium of exchange, right? Well, in order to prove out the medium of exchange or the utility of it, we think travel is one of, if not the leading category for that, one of the top categories. We did a survey through the Litecoin Foundation. How many people took the travel survey through the Litecoin Foundation? Can't tell if anybody did or not. We actually gave out a Litecoin. We did a Litecoin promotion as part of it. 20% of the people said that they already spent on using crypto on travel. Another 53% said they wanted to, but the merchants weren't accepting it yet. So from our perspective, from Vacation Genie, we're giving people an opportunity to really spend their crypto, and then, as Merrick mentioned earlier, the whole rewards program around it on travel-based products.
Rewards. So we got the full circle here. We got the cash back, which is also the incentive. Then you can go and spend that on things. And rewards is really done differently in Web3. It's much less extractive of a model, and it gives back to the user. I know a lot of travel companies they told me that it's like in the billions that they spend on ads. And if you could do that, instead of doing that, you just give it back to the user as an incentive to sign up to your product and focus on that way. It's completely different economy that we're living in now because of the different models that we now give back to the user, and we now focus on those incentives and those rewards instead of the opposite way around, right?
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, when you're doing it that way too, they're taking control over their rewards or their incentives. So can they, the rewards that John talked about earlier, can they use it to pay for travel? Hey, fantastic, right? John and I talked about that earlier. So there's an opportunity for that to be, you're taking control over your rewards as well, which we think is a great thing, and enabled by Web3, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and not to mention that the rewards are not Amex points that can be slashed overnight, that can be halved overnight, or actually just become obsolete, right? They don't expire, and the value is just tied to whatever the currency is behind it, right? Whatever the coin is. So that's already in itself a revolutionary thing, that you can take custody of those points, right? And when I also have a rewards platform that I'll explain later, but we just call them digital rewards, and people then start to understand. But when they'll see the difference is when they realize that no company, if the company goes down, the reward is still there, and it never goes down in value based on what the company does, right? So.
You know what's interesting too about that you guys bring up, which is interesting, I want to highlight it, is that think about it this way. The previous administration had all kinds of landmines, which we all know, buried into the system, right? From if you're running a bank, you got a letter from the FDIC or the Treasury that said, hey, if you touch crypto, guess what? You know, in so many words, you're going to have a bank auditor at your door and make your life miserable. And there's tons of stories about that. Everybody knows about that from the FOIA release at the Coinbase lawsuit. So this is the very beginning with the new administration of utility of Litecoin and crypto rewards. It's just starting because everyone was afraid before, right? Now the barriers are breaking down. So like you mentioned, you're right, because your typical reward points they're static, they lose value, they don't keep up with inflation. So everything we're doing here is the very beginning. And in fact, Merrick's company, BitPay, was on the brunt end of that with some of the oppression by the previous administrations because they were putting pressure on the banks. So you're going to see a lot of innovations, and Merrick's business is really going to start taking off because that oppressive thug of the previous administration is now being eliminated. So this is the beginning, I think, of you'll see many more crypto incentive programs coming out in the next couple years.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, the blockchain itself, all the blockchain companies, which include all of us right now, right? If you remove the handcuffs from us, the innovation is going to take off. And I think that's going to happen with this new administration. He's right. I don't know if you know this, but when we accept a payment, a crypto payment, that's not the big issue. It's when we settle with the merchant in US dollar, the bank gets to tell us if we can work with that merchant. And that should not be allowed. If the merchant is a legal business operating in a country that we're allowed to operate in, the bank must allow us to settle, regardless of what vertical or industry they're in. So that will happen. But getting back to the reward side or the payment side, it's about choice and consumer choice, right? You should provide the opportunity for the consumer to pay any way they want to pay. And if you have a reward or cashback program, allow them to choose which reward or cashback program they want to use. Gift card, PayPal cashback, crypto cashback, but it's consumer choice, and that's just better for the consumer, and ultimately that's better for the business.
Right. Yeah. And that's the direction that we're headed in now. Just like, you know, when we started this with the internet and fintech and enabling payments and accepting different types of currencies, that's where we're at now in this game. Right? And I remember BitPay just from so long ago, and it's so cool to see how much everything's evolved. And now that you're speaking about the administration, back in the days when, you know, the internet came to be, it was actually the Clinton administration who kind of just came up and said, just let it rip. And as a result of not trying to over-regulate and stifle innovation, we have Uber, we have Amazon, we have all the great companies that we know today based in the U.S. and thriving. So my hope is that that's now the atmosphere here in the U.S., that innovation is allowed to thrive again, and we can start innovating. This is testament to that, right? Yeah. I'd like to hear from you now about...
Yeah. In terms of regulations, whatever makes frictions for the payments, we see that sometimes when somebody has to pay something with crypto, they have to issue the KYC, even if they had to pay, I don't know, $50, something. And this is the big friction, because myself, I would prefer, if I had the possibility to pay with credit card rather than crypto, whenever is this kind of friction. But I hope that this is
speak a little bit more into the mic so the audience can hear, because it's really interesting.
I hope this will be easy with the time.
Right,
Yeah.
so the KYC and actually that's something that I've been exploring in depth as well, because I don't believe that adoption is just, you know, there's so many sides to adoption, but one of them is the seamless onboarding.
Right, yeah.
And right now it's not very seamless.
Yeah.
It's tough, there's a lot of things they have to go through, so that's part of the puzzle, right?
You know, that's interesting to think about that for a minute. Think about, like, I don't know if you all remember Wells Fargo when there was like several million fraudulent accounts that were opened, and there was a big fine against Wells Fargo. And when you think about that for a minute, you know, the friction point of KYC, you know, my bet is that there's going to be innovation that will make it easier and less friction with that. But that's a great point, because, you know, you don't need KYC with Zelly.
Because then,
right?
Who are you giving your data? To the shop, to the random shop, to the bank, to who?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point about where the data is stored. Yeah. And there's some companies...
It's a hot topic right now.
Yeah, and so your company helps facilitate that.
Yeah, well, we adapt to what is needed to be compliant. Our company has the focus, I mean, we are in the middle between the merchant and the customer. So to make this flow as smooth as possible.
Okay, yeah, it's very important. I mean, where the data is stored, how it's stored.
Experience, you know, not only for the merchant, but especially for the customers.
Right.
You know, that's interesting. Think about that for a minute, though, right? Because again, we're talking about friction, right? We're talking about landmines that were put in place by the previous administration, right? There's like hundreds of them, and you know, it's amazing how in just 6 months, we're already starting to see innovation with, again, I call it mitigating friction points, or getting rid of the landmines that were purposely put in place to stifle our industry, and it's exciting that in this very, very early stage, we are at the very beginning. That, you know, these friction points that we're talking about here, that we're starting to think through and find ways to work with, you know, the administration, or depending on what level you're at, to make things easier for us, that we can all share in this new exciting technology and blockchain euphoria of opportunity.
I was going to say, I think there's an element that both Merrick and Megan mentioned, and it has to do with the consumer piece, right? So from a travel perspective, one of the reasons we got into this is we believe choice choice breeds confidence, confidence breeds bookings, right? And I think there's a lot of folks that there's a lot of merchants that don't accept it. I was here last year and downloaded an app here and was able to pay for Dunkin' Donuts and Chipotle. They didn't even know they accepted
Dunkin'
crypto
Donuts. You paid with what?
with Litecoin. Actually.
Litecoin. Okay.
With Litecoin. And Chipotle, there was an app here, and they talked about it yesterday as well. And I think there's a consumer piece to this too. The more you ask, are you accepting crypto? Can you accept crypto? That to me is very important in this. It's not only the innovation from these folks here or the merchants that are taking that innovation. I think the consumers play a big part in this too. Do you accept crypto? And really looking forward to that.
So them asking about it is kind of the demand that the retail will see.
It was a surprise when I did it at Dunkin' Donuts. And again, I came out of the conference last year. I went, okay, I'll try. And I was able to do it. I did it fairly easily. Sent some to my son-in-law. They did it. My nephews. And they're like, wow, we didn't even know that you could do this. And the merchants didn't even know because it was facilitated by some back-end processes.
Right. So everybody go buy a Dunkin' Donuts coffee or donuts with Litecoin today and let us know how it goes. Let's have a mass just demand for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I was going to add that education is still a struggle. Bitcoin was around 2009. We came around 2011, and we are still trying to educate businesses and consumers that cryptocurrency is fine. It's not that big scary thing that they heard back in the early days, right? In fact, cryptocurrency is more transparent than a dollar transaction.
For sure.
Right? At least you can track it. You don't know what happened between the two accounts, but money was moved from one account to another account. I could give you $1,000 right now, and the U.S. government wouldn't know that I just gave you $1,000, right? So it's more transparent, but when we talk to companies about accepting cryptocurrency, again, they don't want to hold it, right? They're still afraid of it. They don't know what the laws and regulations are. But when we tell them, hey, you don't have to hold it, you don't have to touch it, you don't have to buy it, you don't have to store it, you have nothing to do with it, we do everything, and we settle you next business day, they're like, oh, well, why don't we do that? And we're like, that's what we're trying to tell you, right?
Also, the fees are considerably less.
Yeah, so the fees can be less depending on volume. But yes, they can be less than credit card, and they often are, depending on how much volume you can do. But even if you don't do a lot of volume, they're still going to be less than credit card. Right. But I will tell you this, though, and this gets back into onboarding. It's onboarding customers, but it's also onboarding businesses. It takes as much effort for us to onboard a small mom-and-pop business as it does a large enterprise, because that's the laws and the regulations that we have to do today. And that's unfortunate. It should be very, very easy for everybody to be onboarded.
You know what's interesting about Litecoin, and I'm a Litecoin bull, right? And when you listen to the speakers that we've had here at this wonderful event, thank you for the foundation for putting on, by the way. It's always a great event. But here's what's interesting about Litecoin. This is how I look at it. Bitcoin has been good because it's basically got the cogs moving where people are comfortable investing, and Litecoin is easy to explain. Let me give you an example. So when I talk to people about my service, right, I provide 5G phone service, okay? It's pretty straightforward, right? It's a commodity. When I explain to people what Litecoin is, I can use the on-ramp. It's easy to explain Litecoin. It's got a finite supply. It's fast. It's practical. It's got utility. And why I think we're going to see a nice move in Litecoin in the next several years is based on the fact that it is easy to explain, and it's been around. And I think that's going to help our adoption, not only of Litecoin, but also of further improving utility and usage in the crypto economy, because it's easy to explain. You try to explain to people. I talk about crypto every single day, and I talk a lot. You guys can tell. So when I explain crypto to people, it's like I can explain Litecoin in a few minutes. You try to explain Ethereum or other cryptos to people, I mean, you're like looking at glazed eyes. So that's what's really exciting, because we have a utility crypto currency with Litecoin that really is going to take a hold here as we start to moving towards the ETF approval and things like that.
Yeah. I'd like to add something about Litecoin, since we're doing that right now. And obviously you heard that we accept Litecoin as our #1 currency for transaction volume. travel, yep, travel, it has been a late adopter. You are an early adopter in travel, specifically because they need to have payment confirmation immediately, right? And you can't get that with Bitcoin. It takes minutes and 12 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on the block, right? But with Litecoin, it processes quickly and it processes, you can do so many more transactions. Now, if travel companies knew that, and you guys know that, they would, I think, start getting into it. And that's another great thing about Litecoin is that you can do it if you're a travel company and you need that quick confirmation because you'll get it.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that is think about, again, let's pretend we have a crystal ball here, right? Let's say 9 months from today. And you've got your ETF approval, you'll have multiple ETFs, and then we'll start to see, anticipating appreciation of all of our Litecoin. And then all of a sudden, Litecoin goes from this stable, practical, utility cryptocurrency to being top of mind. Because right now, things are kind of quiet. But once people start seeing appreciation of Litecoin and you start seeing CNBC and you start seeing articles in Wall Street Journal and ETFs and appreciation, what happens? The person you play pickleball with starts talking about Litecoin. Your neighbor starts talking about Litecoin. So the ground is starting to swell, and that's going to be really exciting for all of us here in this room. And I think that going forward, I'm going to make a prediction here. My prediction is that starting today, every Litecoin event going forward, you're going to start to see something very different happen here. Right now, we're truists. These are all purists of Litecoin here. But you're going to start to see something happen. You're going to start to see more companies like mine, like Travel Genie. This is the very beginning. I can imagine that in the future, we're going to see hundreds of merchants and innovations and technologies built around Litecoin. So this event's going to change very radically with exciting new innovations because of the practical nature of what we talked about. Finite number, stable, utility, cost, and speed, and a charismatic creator who's still here to spend time with us.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. And I do love what you said about Litecoin. It's been around to stand the test of time, and it's usually one of the first runners when altcoins start to pick back up steam again. And it's been around because it works, people love it, it's fast, and it's simple to explain. Like you said, people understand it. It's always been a part of the top currencies in this space. So yeah, we're really excited to be here and to see the innovation thrive. Go ahead.
It's also easy to use because, for example, if I send you $100 in USDT over any chain, you will get it. And then you want to spend it, and you will not be able to spend it because you need the gas fee, the base currency, either Ethereum or Tron or whatever it is. If I send you $100 in Litecoins, you will send straight away because you pay the blockchain fees with the same.
And that gets back to the theme that we were talking about earlier when I first was handed the microphone, is think about it in terms of, where we're at right now is most of us have been around, the crypto for a decade, or some of us a little bit longer, some of us a little bit less. But, the future is now, where do we go with the technology? Now that because again, we've had this oppressive government barrier and pain points and friction points all around us. And now that those are breaking down, we're going to see all kinds of innovations and with BitPay, and I'm sure you're bringing on new clients all the time. So it's really fascinating to think about where we're going. As opposed to defending ourselves, now we can go to promoting ourselves and creating innovation and watching this whole space change, just like we did in 1999 before we had broadband.
Yeah, and it's very much a spirit of collaboration over competition. And that's what I love about this space, is that everybody gets together and they help each other thrive. So I want to circle back then to the way that adoption is going to happen, because now we've built all of this stuff. It's ready to go. The tech is ready. How do we get people? So back to you said it's just as hard to onboard a mom and pop shop as a big company. And I think this goes all the way around. Like, my dad is in the audience. He's a CPA, and he thought that this was a really kind of a scary nightmare, and that's what everybody thinks in the beginning, but now he's learning about it through me and helping me with my taxes. And I think if we just educate everybody in every part of the circle, it's going to be easier. And you tell them, hey, actually, this is really cool. Like you said, it's very transparent. You can account for it easier. You don't have to depend on a paper trail. And so what we're working on, ATH, so it's all-time high. It stands for all-time high vodka. The thing that's cool about this is, so I have a podcast, but I also co-founded this because I wanted to do something in the real world that had utility, that could make a difference and get average consumers excited about it and show them how we can change rewards. So it's in Costco, UK, which is major because that's a multinational that now has a crypto element in it. Imagine the people that are going to come across this. And the cool thing about it is, so you buy the bottle, it's an ultra premium bottle, and it's ultra premium vodka. You tap the top, and you can win anywhere from $1 to $1,000 in our token, or any token, because we're built on Flare. So we want to be interoperable, and that goes back to being able to choose what you want to use and choose what you spend in the app. So we could put a Litecoins on top, do a huge Litecoin campaign, and get that awareness out there through consumers who are purchasing this. Then they go into the app, and they can spend that directly in the bar on anything at the bar, another bottle, another drink, or even our rewards partners, or maybe to travel Genie, right? So this is like this whole circular economy where we're all working together to make this adoption happen, and it's cool.
You know, it'd be interesting to see, it's probably in the works in somebody's office somewhere, but I guarantee it that we'll see a Litecoin debit card cashback app. Maybe somebody in here is working on it, and we're due for it right now, right? That you would earn specifically Litecoin cashback. And then bring the plethora of merchants in place. I mean, it's really not that complicated to do that, to be honest with you. And that would open up even further adoption because you can get, your traditional cash back like at Walmart or at Costco. Maybe it's 2%, 4%, maybe it's 3%, whatever. And you accrue you earn your Litecoin, and then you can not only get the appreciation of the Litecoin as opposed to having fiat, but then it also will expand the adoption of more Litecoin consumer adoption.
Yeah, and Costco just rolled out Bitcoin ATMs in every single Costco across the U.S. So, I mean, hopefully that'll open up to other cryptos, but I think you might have something to say.
The interesting thing about that, you can buy Bitcoin at Costco, but you can't spend it in store because they have a relationship with Visa, right? But online, maybe if any of you work for Costco, know of Costco, they should contact us. Then they could use your Bitcoin or Litecoin and then purchase at Costco through the app or online. So I'm great that they're doing that because it created awareness, but you can't use it in the store.
Yeah,
so
but we got to let them know. We got to let them know that if you can tap the bottle and win a Litecoin, you have to be able to spend it back at Costco. That's the next step, right? Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to see that, Merrick. I mean, I think we're just, again, it's only been 6 months, right? So I think that's interesting, right? That's an example of, of Wall Street and, big companies being more comfortable that they're not getting the crosshairs by accepting crypto payments or even giving a crypto cashback reward through a third-party app for their location.
So yeah, first, my branding people would kill me if I didn't correct it. It's Vacation Genie, not Travel Genie, just to make sure that's okay.
Sorry about that.
My branding people, I'll be
Vacation Genie.
Vacation Genie. I'll be walking home. But I think you and Merrick both touched on this, and John, you and I have had this conversation, the importance of the rewards or incentives in the education process. Because once somebody starts earning something, they're going to want to know, okay, where can I spend it, right? And I want to spend it. So I'm old, obviously. I remember S&H green stamps, which you got at the grocery store. Okay, what do I do with these? And you could redeem them. People look to do that. Accumulate and then redeem and actually purchase
the coupons
stuff
you're
with them.
talking about.
They're stamps. They were green stamps you got for as much as, I'm old, okay, I get it, but that incentive thing still works because people look to, okay, what am I going to redeem or buy with these? So your program with All-Time High Vodka or what you're doing or your platform, or I know your Stefano, it enables that, and I think that's critical to the education piece. One of the things that Merrick turned me on to, and John, you did last year as well, was, on ours, some folks on travel might not want to buy initially with crypto. Okay, we still accept, because for choice purposes, credit. Well, we can still redeem back our reward in crypto, in Litecoin, giving them, okay, now you can spend it on anything, obviously, but that's part of the education. So I see the reward piece or the payout, Merrick, as one of those critical pieces.
Yeah, it's very much an incentive economy, just in a much better way now,
Yeah.
right? Because I often talk to Yatsu on my podcast as a co-founder of Animoca Brands, and his whole theory is you get a token, whatever it is, and then you go back and you spend it into the economy. So that's why it's collaborative, not competitive, and that makes them stay there. How many people get the crypto and then get really into crypto and then want to get out of it, right? It's very much like, oh, let me go spend it on another thing or buy a different coin, or, it then gets them into the system.
Yeah, what's interesting too is when you think about fast forward adoption, right? And when the mindset becomes commonplace that you do not want to hold fiat currency in any matter. And again, going back to the Litecoin debit card narrative, the cashback narrative, I call it crypto cashback because it's hard to explain things to people. So I kind of merge the two together and call it crypto cashback. But it's easier to explain to people, saves time. But that as we start moving in that adoption curve, where people just do not want to hold fiat currency, and they want to have a true store of value and utility, Litecoin is right there, and it just has so many wonderful features around it that I just see Litecoin becoming the number one crypto currency to be used for transactions, for spending, and also a store of value based on the finite number of supply.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I do think it'll increase adoption as we go. It's easy for people to understand. It's been around forever, and it is great for utility and for spending things. It's perfect for that. I want to go back to the regulation piece, because we are all building amazing things, but that doesn't mean anything if we can't get it into the economy in a proper way, and we can't get people onboarded in a proper way, right? So I was at the mayor's house last week in New York at Gracie Mansion, the mayor's residence, and he was saying he wanted to make this the crypto capital of the world. He wanted New York to open its doors to crypto. We had a fantastic interview. That for me was really impactful, because that's the first time we see that happening. Now, we talked a lot about regulation and how do we make this work in a proper way so we can thrive. What have been the challenges that you've seen with the KYC system? And
for example, if in some countries, for example in Portugal, in Europe, the threshold to request the KYC is 0. So it means that if somebody transacts $10, you have to KYC this person. And to KYC one person maybe costs $1 or something like that. And maybe what you earn from that transaction is 0.
Right.
And so
we work with like an Uber Eats in Europe. And if you order a pizza, we have to KYC them for that pizza.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You have to KYC for them to order
because
pizza.
and that's Europe, and those are the laws of Europe and the countries in Europe.
I live in Europe, so I'm interested.
So we have to KYC. Now, hopefully they're making some changes, and they're raising that. But at some point, yeah, we had to KYC for anything that you purchase, regardless of how much it costs.
And that's about $1 per person, you saying? Or
more or less, how much costs one KYC?
Right. Well, yeah. So the good news is, and I don't know why, there should be a company out there where we could all just use that one company, and maybe that's your company. We don't want a KYC, but because we had to do it, we created, it's now a BitPay ID, where at least through us, you only have to do it one time. So if you go to another merchant of ours, we don't have to KYC you because you've already been KYC'd. At least it goes with you, but they have to accept BitPay. So, but yeah, the KYC is a big problem for the spending, for sure. For
At least they should increase the threshold.
Right, and that's the laws. We don't want laws. We just want clarity,
right.
And that's
exactly.
the thing.
Good or good regulations.
So
right.
think about it this way. All right, so database, making it easier, mitigating friction point, right? But also, and that's important, right? Because that was purposely put in place to, again, stifle the industry and create moguls for us here. But think about the future too, where this is gonna end up. So as more people get cash back in crypto, that's more consumers using the utility and the benefits of Litecoin, for example. And with that comes power. Power meaning voters. And so, I mean, you don't want to be the congressperson that takes away somebody's crypto cashback, right? So that's the power we've got. So the interesting thing about this is that the people that are up here and others that are doing what we're doing in different sectors and so forth, is we're creating a cornerstone of the stability of cryptocurrency adoption and utility. And by doing that, you're giving us more power to have a voice, which, like, I live in Miami, right? So Miami's a big crypto city with Mayor Suarez. It's the same thing too, right? So the more people that own crypto, the more people that are getting benefits. I mean, you're not taking my crypto away from me. I'm not going to vote for you, right? You're not taking my cash back away from me. So that's what's interesting about this whole thing, where it's going to move. That's why, this panel is important to get the message out, is because crypto cashback is important, albeit it may not sound like the sexiest thing in the world and the most innovative, but it is important for where this whole thing's going to end up in the future.
And this universal, because before you could get the cash back for points or something to spend in the same company that is giving the cash back. Now you get the cash back and you can spend wherever or just hold.
Yeah, it's very much open. You can go and take your points, self-custody them, so no company owns your points. You own your points, and they're not going to slash them. I mean, that's a big thing. The airline miles. I mean, I can't tell you how many I've racked up, and I don't even think I can still pay for, a flight anyway. It's just insane, right?
And they expire.
And they expire, and they're kind of worthless. So I'm frustrated with that system.
And they lose value, right? They don't keep up with inflation, right? So they're basically, they're losing their value as time goes on.
Right.
I would agree. I would echo what Merrick said earlier about some sort of clarity, but I would say there's also, especially in travel is meant to be borderless, et cetera. We're a global, you can travel anywhere, right? There's a consistency piece too, because Cody will be here, I think, later this morning and talking about regulations and things in the U.S. and what they're doing to help with regulations, especially with this administration. But there are other countries or regions that also have to do that, because the consistency piece is a big piece to me as well. It's not just that things are clear here and we know what the hurdles and everything are here. I'm doing business globally. So there's a consistency piece. So that I think is another piece, because I think, if you look at the momentum now, I think we'll see a lot from this administration, but it's not just the U.S. that's driving this. We need to see, other areas. APAC, Asia, I think, is doing great.
Right.
So there's a consistency, I think, from a global perspective that I'd like to see in addition to the clarity.
Yeah, and the evidence is there. The stablecoin volume, the transaction volume, topped Visa and MasterCard last year. Can you imagine that? The transaction volume for stablecoins was bigger than Visa and MasterCard. Not the amount, but the volume, right? So that speaks, it says
volume.
it up. It speaks volumes. I was trying not to say volume again, but wow. That for me is really impactful, and that shows that we're right there. We're on the verge, on the precipice of this becoming embedded in the fabric of our everyday lives.
Right.
Yeah.
I often ask the question, the thing that would make it happen so fast, but I don't know if it will happen, is what large U.S. brand will be the first to adopt it? Is it Walmart? Is it Amazon? Is it Best Buy? Is it Target? Is it Home Depot? You get one of the major top 10 e-commerce providers, and I know they're looking at it, but as soon as they come out with it, it's a game changer, because everyone will want to offer it and will have to offer it, because now they need to, because their competition is doing it. So
Right.
It will happen, but who will be the first?
That's the question. Maybe it'll be Costco.
Maybe.
Well, one way to do that is if you go into like a Litecoin centric debit card that I mentioned earlier with cashback. Here's it's pretty straightforward, right? So if you because you can set up a cashback debit card app relatively easily. So you can force the hand by having a Litecoin centric debit card with cashback, traditional cashback, right? But then the consumer converts it into Litecoin, right? Like, for example, through BitPay, and now you're basically forcing the hand of the big retailers to ultimately begin offering compelling Litecoin cashback through different platforms and means, if that makes sense. So I agree with you. You want a big fish to jump in with you, but at the same time too, they have no choice, right? It's just a matter of time.
Right. And we have the full spectrum here on this panel. So we've got KYC and legalities and kind of regulation, which is the first step of the puzzle. We've got cashback programs and rewards that people can actually go out and earn. We've got the facilitation of the payment system. Then we've got other places where they can go spend it. So we've got the whole spectrum up here. The more builders and innovators we get, the better. People are coming out of the woodworks because it is no longer that draconian SEC that's scaring people and sending them offshore. And this is really fun to see. So as we wrap this up, we've got 1 minute. Let's just have just a quick, what are you most excited about with what's going on with your company or the future of this space, and where people can find you and interact with you?
Well, we're www.stackmobile.com. Stack your crypto. Again, we're a nationwide wireless carrier, and we'd love to have all of you as clients of ours. We support the foundation, and we're the first commodity that gives compelling cash back in Litecoin for using something you use every single day, which is consume data.
Fantastic, thank you.
Our website is blockbee.io, and we are here to try to improve more and more the adoption with the technology that we have, and adopting, of course, Litecoin, all the stable coins, and whatever interesting projects will come in the future.
Thank you.
VacationGenie.com, and we're just super happy to be able to offer alternatives in travel for folks to use their crypto to spend in travel, and we're super excited to that. So come by our booth. We have plenty of bags left, so happy to give you those as well and talk about Vacation Genie.
All right, sounds good.
BitPay.com. So again, I love the payment side of it. We need to continue down that road, but I really like the payout side, which is the rewards, the rebates, the payroll, the paying affiliate networks or contractors globally. So that's how we get more consumers into the ecosystem, is from the payout side, but we need the payment side too.
One last note real quick on is like, think about employee benefits too. Like, that's one thing too that I think you'll start to see a bigger trend too, where companies can use the service like our mobile service. We have a B2B vertical for businesses, but companies can start to leverage a brand for their employees, and the employees get the benefit of the crypto cashback. So it can be spun in a way that an employer can embrace a brand. For example, in ours, like wireless service, companies they reimburse for wireless all the time, and then the employee gets the benefit of 15% cash back in Litecoin. So there's all kinds of ways to spin this to improve adoption as we start to see this industry mature over the next decade.
Absolutely, and people are going to see and feel those benefits, and that's what's going to get them to want to be there, right, because of these incentives, and I think it's fantastic. My name is Megan Nelson, I go by Crypto Megan, and I hope that ATH Vodka can sponsor this event next year. We'll put some Litecoin on the tops, and we'll get people excited about it. How does that sound?
Litecoin Bloody Marys.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and big round of applause for the panel.